Hey guys, before we start, I want to greet you a happy holidays. I hope you're doing well today. In this video, let's discuss some BLs that I think need some expansion on its story and plot. Not every BL is created equal and some of those BLs left us hanging after its ending. Just to clarify, I'm not saying that these series have a bad ending. There are just thoughts on my mind that I want to share with you and you may or may not agree with it. You can also comment your own thoughts below. Anyway, if you live in a different country and some BL series are not available to yours, you can use ExpressVPN to watch those restricted series. Use the link on the description below to have 49% discount and 3 months free if you opt to avail the 12-month plan. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. As one of the most unique plots in a BL, He's Coming to Me surely gave us a roller coaster ride on its story. There were some moments that made us feel so happy, but most of the times it made our hearts shattered into pieces. But since this BL is already in the territory of a fantasy genre, the possibilities of its next plot would be unlimited. If I remember it right, in the novel version of this BL, Fun and Met actually had a love-making scene, which makes it weird. If the author could do some crazy scenes such as those, then we could have other twist or plot in the story. In the ending of the series, we saw that Met could be able to go back to the living world even all of the requirements to cross over to the other side were met. It was not actually explained further in the series, but it's an indication that we got a happy ending for that. Since the mystery on the death of Met had been solved in the first season, the season 2 could tell us on how the relationship of Fun and Met would evolve further and also the consequences of their love story. The story could also have conflicts with the nature, since a relationship between a human and a ghost is impossible. There are other possible plots for the season 2 and that would be interesting to see if it happens. Among this list, Theory of Love is the most straightforward BL when it comes to its plot. It was simple and nothing quite extraordinary. In season 1, we saw how the relationship between Kai and Third turned into reality after so many heartbreaking scenes. Although we already have a special episode for this one, another plot could also be more interesting for the series. For the second season, it could show us the development of the main characters into more mature people and also how it would affect their relationship. Another thing is how the people around Kai would react about him. Since Kai was established as a womanizer in the series, the sudden change of him was not the ideal thing to happen. A person won't change overnight, it's a process. There would be doubts and temptations for him which could lead into another conflict. The Shipper is one of the BLs released in 2020 that needs a second season the most. Its plot was actually interesting and the casts were perfect. One thing that's not really good in this one was the ending. The earlier episodes were great and it won't fail on putting a smile on your lips, but the conclusion was just really surprising for the plot it has. Since we got a post-credit scene, it might be a clue for us that The Shipper isn't finished yet and there is still a story to be told. Until We Meet Again is one of the longest series for a Thai BL for having 17 episodes in total. Most of BLs today have 8 to 13 episodes in one season. Having this length would raise your eyebrows on why did I include it in here, since it was already pretty long. I don't know if you can call this a season 2, but I just really want to see Korn and Intouch in a different storyline wherein there was no suicide scenes of both. It would be like a spin-off on what could happen on their love story if there was no hindrances on their relationship. It's interesting to see, since most of the times, we just saw a glimpse of their past but not the entire picture of it. Since I made my review of this before the season finale, I would include my thoughts in here for the final episode. Clearly, like in the movies, is one of the best BLs I have seen in 2020, not only in terms of its plot and storyline, but also on the depth of its characters. There were also lessons that you could get on this one, so it was really a full package. But we cannot please everyone, and that's what happens in the final episode. Most of it were positive comments, but I also read some negative ones. Having an open ending in a certain show is not bad at all, but it also has some drawbacks in it. Not every viewer would get the point of an open ending, since they are used to see either happy or sad ending. It could also cause a confusion to the viewers on what really happens in the conclusion. But having an open ending means that possibilities are endless for a next season. It would not be hard for the writers to continue the plot, since there was no ending scene in the first season. I really love this BL, and I'm also hoping for a season 2. Please make it happen. Where Your Eyes Linger was the first Korean BL I have ever seen, and it was so good for my taste. The only downside was the length for each episode, and the plot was very straightforward. I was actually afraid to see the last episode, since I thought it would be a sad ending for the main characters. Surprisingly, it turned out to be a happy ending, but it was not enough for the story. A proper season 2 could explain some details and what really happened to them during the time skip. They could also show us the difference with their relationship compared to the first season. I'm also hoping to see how great the character development of the two main casts. Mr. Heart is another Korean BL, and it's also one of the best BLs today. Just like Where Your Eyes Linger, the story was kinda short and it only revolved in a single plot. The first season was also good and I really enjoyed it, but I want more story for them. I want to know more background story of the characters too. These Korean BLs actually have the most potential to be the best BLs out there, just like their Korean dramas, but it might not be the right time for that. I'm hoping that Mr. Heart could have a follow-up season after the first one. Cherry Magic is a Japanese BL and will air its finale episode this week. Cherry Magic is easily one of my most favorite BLs of 2020. It's a breath of fresh air to see this kind of BL with those who have a lot of dramas. You may be wondering why I put it in here since it's still airing, but there's really something into this BL that made me fall in love with it. You don't need to think too much when watching this, and that's already a relief for everyone. The funny scenes and the difference of these characters with others are already enough to have a second season. It's actually hard to combine these elements into one and become an effective show. If season 2 could happen, we could see how Adachi would show his emotions and develop his character without the powers he got when he became a wizard. What BL series do you want to have another season? It's kinda rare for a BL to have multiple seasons, and most of them were not as successful compared to their first seasons. Do you want a BL series to have multiple seasons, or should they stick in just one? Thank you for watching. That's it for today, and see you on the next one.